There we go. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. This is Jamil Salibs and me out of Manning, South Carolina. I got to talk like this so I can strain my voice so that it doesn't sound raspy because I am addicted to that new genetically modified marijuana. It is taking a toll on my health. But this is where we live. So I'm kind of confined into the house. I got to kind of move, stick and move, stick and move. But I'm going to keep moving. I want to talk about today not only that Mary Jane, but that Pharaoh spirit. For those of you just tuning in, we are on live on Facebook, on my personal Facebook page. That's Jamil Salib Zamir. We are live on Facebook on the 19 Report. We are live on Facebook at The Music Man. We are also live on Linked. We are live on on YouTube at the 19 Report. We're live on Twitter, and we are live on Instagram. What's up, Young Quake? We definitely got to get into this subject today. This is something that I mentioned in my last broadcast about the Pharaoh spirit, and someone messaged me and asked me to elaborate on that somewhat. So I got an hour, 3 minutes in. Just give me a little bit of time, and I promise you, you're going to get a whole lot out of this one. This is very, very necessary. Now, everything that has happened in the past, prior to the Bible being written, there was time before that. What they call pre-Adamites. Pre-Adamites are those who were here before Adam. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that life has been on this planet for trillions of years. And we're not talking about dinosaurs. We're talking about human beings, because God created himself out of a triple stage of darkness, out of the atoms of the universe. He reproduced that in the womb of a woman. And that's why the woman is the goddess of the man. The woman is the second self of God. I got to go back to this, and I'm making this quick. I'm talking fast, but I'm coming to the point. We're talking about the Pharaoh spirit. So now we have people on the planet prior to this book called Bible. This book called Bible is only I don't want to misquote it. Let me look it up. It ain't gonna take that long. I think it's like 6,000 years old. How old is the Bible? Let's see. How old is the Bible? Get into that. How old is the Bible? How old is the Bible exactly? Okay, here we go. The Bible it's been nearly 2,000 years. So the Bible is 2,000 years old, but life has been on this planet for over 66 trillion. Life man made after God, after a man. So that means man was on this planet. That whole dinosaur myth, they're going to have to work on that one a little bit more. There's a lot of things that just don't add up. But when a people are late in their existence, the Caucasian is 6,000 years old. When people are late in their existence, they can only go back as far as they are allowed to go. This is not an insult. We're talking about the Pharaoh spirit, but I want to get you in the mindset of what it takes in order to study the history the right way. Like many people study slavery from 1619, but we were brought here in chains by force in 1555. And from 1555 to 1619 represents 64 hidden years that they did not record of what happened to black people in this country at the hands of racist whites. They have something called the $64,000 question, or the $64 million question. Look it up. What is the $64,000 question? The $64,000 question is, what happened from 1555 to 1619 that destroyed an entire race of people, and why was it done? What I'm telling you is that from biblical times, from times past, from Pharaoh's past, but from the Pharaoh mentioned in the Bible, who Moses came to free the Israelites, Pharaoh was after boy babies. His exact words were, kill all the boy babies, spare the females. Now, killing a black boy baby is not just taking their life, but it's taking their mind, taking their history, taking their connection from their family, taking their desire to do what's right, taking their desire to be a family man, taking their desire of empathy, of emotion, and making them something that is selfish. What is the Pharaoh spirit? The Pharaoh spirit is the mindset in us today that was once the mindset of our slave masters, who could care less about our survival and more about the survival of their family and their children. But now that they realize their time is up, Now they want to combine with us and say we're fighting the same struggle, but we're not fighting the same struggle. We were fighting for our lives. You're fighting for your livelihood. That's totally different. But they don't comprehend that because they're busy trying to connect with the thing that they destroyed out of fear that they will be destroyed in the process. Why? Because they understand biblical scripture better than we do. Because they understand the cycle of the Pharaoh spirit, how it is introduced, how it is tested, and how it is destroyed. The Pharaoh spirit has to be destroyed. The Holy Quran says, we cast truth at falsehood until we knock out its brains. You must make falsehood disappear out of yourself, out of your home, out of your children. I decided to take that path in 1980, 89, all the way up until now to tell my children the truth. Now, I lost them because of truth. And because I talk about marijuana today and how it's destroying my internal organs, I lose some of you because you love smoking it. But it was put there genetically modified for a reason, specifically for the black brain, to destroy it. It is a vegetative crack. And because it is moving too slow, in comes the fentanyl. Now let's go into this Pharaoh spirit. I want us to know that there were 10 signs that God sent to Pharaoh. We're 8 minutes in. We got good time because we got to really talk about this. We're going to go to Exodus 1:15 through 16. I want to say this. A lot of people say that you can quote the Bible, but you don't understand God's words. Well, anybody can quote the Bible and don't understand God's words, including the person who wrote the Bible. Because according to every Bible that I read, if you look at the front page first, it will say in the Holy Bible, and I'm reading this verbatim, the Holy Bible containing Old and New Testaments, translated out of the original tongue and with the former translations diligently compared and revised, commonly known as the Authorized King James Version, National Publishing Company, Philadelphia. It ain't say what in this book is absolutely true. What happens with people is once they get a view of what God is, and once maybe God speaks to them in the way that they are accustomed to, they think that God is supposed to speak to everyone that way. But sometimes God speaks through quiet. Sometimes he speaks through smoothness. Sometimes he speaks through whispering in your ear. Sometimes it's a storm. Sometimes it's death. Sometimes it's all types of ways that God speaks to man. But right now, because we're losing our young people right and left to gun violence, rape, murder, suicide, all this stuff, drugs, we are becoming desensitized. And once you become desensitized to God's word, then you are a willing participant in the spirit of a Pharaoh. In particular, the Pharaoh who enslaved your people, who killed the boy babies and spared the females. We're in a cycle now where women are saying they don't need no man. They can raise their children on their own. They are saying that they are, what do they call it? They call it a feminist. They're embracing all of this stuff and demanding that we treat them a certain way because they have a vagina. Now, mind you, most of them don't even know how to use the thing, but they feel they have privilege because they have a vagina. And now they are verbally bashing men. We're talking about the Pharaoh spirit. It's all going to come together, but you got to stay tuned. Instagram, Facebook, all y'all. 85% of black homes are single mothers raising boys. Those boys grow up to be some men, some mentally off balance, some gang members, some doctors, some lawyers, but those men were raised by single mothers who are now saying men are no good. So why did they raise this boy to be a man if they knew the boy was going to be no good? And if they raised the boy and didn't feel the boy was going to be worth something, are they guilty of destroying the mind of these men that they now bash and say are no good? I hope y'all understand what I'm saying. Because in The Sixth Sense, when the little boy was asking Bruce Willis, "You do believe me, don't you?" And Bruce Willis didn't answer. And he said, "Well, if you don't believe me, how can you help me?" See, I had to go through a cycle where my mother, God rest her soul, hated my father. And because I looked like my father, my mother made sure I ate, slept, and had a roof over my head, but she did not teach me anything. I can't remember hugging my mama. Only time I got attention was for doing something wrong or something she perceived as wrong. I remember when she found my dirty magazines in my closet because nobody told me about sex. She just spread them over the bed when I came home. Never mentioned a word about sex or nothing about it. Nothing. So everything that I learned, I had to learn outside of the home because my mother raised me, but she didn't teach me. So now you got mothers who are dressing her children, making excuses for their children, fighting for their children, going up to the schoolhouse, cussing out all the teachers, letting the boy baby do what he want to do, and then he grows up to be a little menace to society. And now she's talking about how bad all men are, with the exception of the little devils she raised. And she don't want to be held accountable for raising the little devils. So what we got to do is we got to come to some consensus, some type of agreement that we all made mistakes. But the biggest trick the devil ever played was to make us to believe that he didn't exist, because he hides behind the 85% of ignorance in the world. And his 10% clique control everything, including the people that you think control their own lives, your Jay-Z's and Beyonce's. They control too, your Puffies. They turn them into freaks of nature and drug addicts. We're going into the Pharaoh spirit. I'm bringing it home right here to Clarendon County. I had a water because I knew my throat was going to get dry. And I knew my throat was going to get dry because I can't get this stuff out of my system. I thank you all for tuning in. This is Jamil Salib to me out of Manning, South Carolina. We got a lot to cover today. I'm trying to find a starting point, and I think I'll start from right here. We're talking about the Pharaoh spirit, and we are going to go into what it is, how it relates to black boys, how it relates to white children, how it relates to women, how it relates to the decline of the church attendance, and what must be done. Because if you're not ready to kill, if you're not ready to murder and destroy those negative sides of yourself, then you and I are not ready to be like God or with God. And I want to make this very clear. Because you accepted God as a Christian, because something happened in your life, you don't have the right to tell another person because they accepted Islam or Judaism or Buddhism that they're wrong and they're going to hell. For you to say that puts you on a pathway to hell, because you don't know what it takes for God to reach a person's internal desires to do right. It's the job of any preacher, prophet, or messenger to deliver the message clearly, not to offend God's creation and not to judge them, only by discernment. But we get so cocky in ourselves and thinking that it's something we did, something we are, that we can now condemn everybody else that's doing something opposite from us. You don't think that a homosexual got God in them? What they're doing is not godly, but that don't mean God is not in them. You don't think a drug addict don't have God in them? An alcoholic don't have God? All of us have that seed of God in us. But the more we sin, the further down it's pushed. And eventually it's pushed out. 50 to 75% of those young people calling themselves demons are not demons yet, but they're working on it. They are working on becoming so desensitized that they will do anything for attention. And we got to stop that. But first, we got to understand what we are up against. And we are up against the spirit of Pharaoh, the spirit of Egypt, and the spirit of evil. Now, let me read this Antichrist spirit. The spirit of Pharaoh is an antichrist spirit. Pharaoh means the son of the sun, the S-O-N of the S-U-N. And many of us worship the sun. But the sun is not solidified in God's universe. It comes and it goes. Everything rotates on an axis at 1,037 and a third mile per hour. Nothing is a complete circle. The earth is oval shaped because of its spin. And if it were not for the water on the earth and the mountains as a balance on the earth would wobble so much that it would kick all of us out into space. But the spirit of Pharaoh is an antichrist spirit. Pharaoh means the son of the sun. The Egyptian kings were regarded as gods, and the name Pharaoh has to do with destruction of good things in their infancy. I'm going to say that again. The name Pharaoh has to do with destruction of good things in their infancy. Why do you think they're introducing this potent marijuana into your system, young black boys, and making you like a rabbit? That you screwing and ejaculating and screwing and ejaculating, and these women having all these children from all these men and sitting up there with a whole clan talking about they're happy to be single. And you've ejaculated this messed up DNA into a child who's already messed up, because the Bible says that the dragon sits at the foot of the woman waiting to devour her seed. Lord have mercy. I pray that y'all listen to what I'm telling you. So I don't know how much longer I'll be on this planet. I'm tired. And I don't see too much joy in this place no more, because everybody doing the same thing. Everybody doing the same thing. And it's very little happiness for me here, be honest with you. But I'm going to share with you for however long God keeps me here. I'm going. And I don't need no bunch of people with me if you don't want to be there. Your absence or your attendance has got nothing to do with this. This is all about God. That's it. Not even about me. But somebody got to say it, because there's no way you can continue to follow people for years and years and years and nothing change in your life. You still the same person. The Egyptian kings were regarded as gods, and the name Pharaoh has to do with destruction of good things in their infancy. From Exodus 6, we see the manifestation of this spirit as a strong man, a principal demon, controlling a person, controlling a family, controlling places, or controlling things to bondage. We are all bonded to go to the wickedness of this world. And Pharaoh has flipped the script to make you think that by having the things of this world, you are not bonded to it. But any man that would take $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 out of his pocket to buy a pair of jeans, a pair of shoes, a shirt, a hat, without thinking about future endeavors, just thinking that the money they have will suffice, without thinking about the equity in the home, the investing in things that'll be a future for the children guaranteed. Any man that bonds himself to a car or a home or a ring or watch, and that is what they're selling our young children. All of this fake gold and this pasty stuff they got on their necks, and you want it, but you have no clue in how to get it. So you steal it, or you scam for it, or you spend the less on it. Pharaoh's job is to destroy the young. And even when God destroyed Pharaoh's young, Pharaoh still changed his mind and went after Moses. And the only way Pharaoh could be stopped is he had to die. The spirit of Egypt, the spirit of Pharaoh cannot be shown any mercy, because most of you are so weak. You wake up on drugs, you go to sleep on drugs, you rap on drugs, You screw on drugs. You go to church on drugs. You go to your job on drugs. There's not a moment of clarity in most of you because you can't deal with the reality of who you are and what you are. So this fantasy, guns and drugs, preaching and women, college degrees and trickery and crookery, political positions and abuse of power, people who have no worth, no self-worth, who got to always be noisy and be seen in order to make it look like they somebody. The spirit of Pharaoh. As followers of whatever you follow, we are rescued from spiritual Egypt, a place of rebellion and wickedness against God. Since we have been rescued, everyone needs to address these forces and cast them out at one time or another in their own personal life. You get warning after warning. God gave warning after warning to Pharaoh, 10 of them before people had to die. And now we celebrate death wrong. We put it on a t-shirt. We don't think about what happened, why it happened, what must have been going through the mind of our dead loved one. We party. And we get together and the only time we get together is during death or a party. I hate these things. I was a lover of parties, but I hate these things now because anything you put into the hands of a slave, he will abuse it. Anything of value that you put in the hands of a slave, once you say it's all right to do it, he's going to abuse it. See, the sellers don't abuse it most of the time. It's the consumer that abuses. And we are all just slaves in consumption. The Pharaoh spirit. There are two ways to deal with these spirits, including past prayers and worship, spending quality time in the word until you catch a revelation or receive a what they call a rhema, a word from the Lord that sets you free automatically, or you pray your way through. I have received a word, but I'm at a point now where I got to pray my way through. And if we don't begin to understand the power of prayer, you are not praying to anything out there because you can't see nothing out there. Spaceships have gone to Mars and other planets that they ain't telling you about, but they have not seen a God standing out there. When you're praying to the God in you. The Bible says the kingdom of heaven is within you. That's what you're praying to. But people make you think that you're praying to the preacher, or you're praying to the cardinal or the rabbi or the imam. Your prayers are for you. And once you understand proper prayer, you can eject that out from yourself to your family, your community. But most of the time, the only time we pray insincerely, is when we get into trouble. Which route you choose to go with, sometimes you may have to hammer it until it breaks off of you. This is a spirit that always tries to pursue and control, limit, restrict, and stop you from spending time with God. The only thing that the spirit responds to is death. It must be destroyed. There is no mercy for wickedness. But why we can't advance in life is because the moment we stand up to fight, Satan introduces another drug or another quick way to make money, and we go straight off the path to that. Never mind that our children are suffering mentally. We put them on the medication. As long as they sit there, we good. Just sit right here. I'm gonna go with your uncle in the room for a minute. I'll be right back. Sit here, play your game. We good. Then we get on the internet with our fake hair and fake lashes and talk about how God good. And the whole thing is a lie. We're liars. We're pretty little liars. Somebody got to say it. And I figure since you got a problem with me anyway, I say it. God says to say it. I'm going to say it. The only thing that this spirit responds to is death. So you looking at your family members die from drugs and gang violence, and you make excuses. I got a good boy. I got a good boy. Okay. And for those of you who got murderers in prison talking about free them, they're going to come out and kill you. I'm telling you what I know. I had a friend of mine that was a killer. We were good before he went in, but when he came out, he had something to prove. And we got into a thing one day with some other people. Y'all know who I'm talking about, some of you. And after we finished that, we went over to one of our partners' house and told him what happened, because he was an OG too, still is. Went back to my house, and then the same dude that I was in the mud with say, everybody in Manning scared of me, including you. Pointed at me. You scared of me too. And I'm confused. Like, why would you be challenging me? I'm your partner. We just banged out together. What are you talking about? That was the end of our friendship. Anyway, unfortunately, he got shot one time, killed somebody one time. They came back to try to kill him one time. And from what I understand, he's doing some prison time now for other issues. But because we don't destroy that wickedness, because we don't say enough is enough, because we got no good so-called friends who encourage us to keep doing dirt because they are too cowardly to say, let's change. If we study the story of Pharaoh and the children of Israel in Egypt, no matter how many or how bad the plagues were, Pharaoh would not let God's people go until the spirit of death visited his own house. You therefore must make up your mind that you will never allow the spirit to see your face again, and stop it, destroy it, and do not allow it to enter into or take over our lives again. This is where we are. We cannot take any chances with the spirit. I'm getting ready to go into it. We're 28 minutes in. We got 30 minutes left. Just bear with me. I'm telling you, because it's necessary. So I'm going to go into some details about this, what to look out for. It's happening now in Clarendon County because I'm beginning to realize and feel the energy of public officials and their arrogance. And they're thinking that because they have this position and they are not being opposed in the position, that they're going to hold the position. But to the entire Democratic Party, the Republicans are coming, and they got kahunas because they're going to come on the internet and they're studying you now. They're studying what you did with your campaign money. I know what I'm talking about because some people done send me some stuff. Did you know so-and-so did this with their campaign money? Did you know so-and-so did that with their campaign money? But I'm not going to be the one to, they're going to do it. And they got the balls to do it. You don't even have the balls to fight back because you have been trained to make the people think that you're innocent and docile. But the Republican Party is going to check you this year. You'll see, mark my word. Mark my word. Do right by the people. Attributes of the spirits of Pharaoh and Herod. We're going in. After 430 years in our oppression as slaves to the Egyptians, 430 years, 430. Our time is up in this. We were enslaved for just about 430 years in America, in oppression. God chose Moses to fulfill his promise to deliver the Israelites. He said, know of a surety that thy seed shall be enslaved in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them 400 years. And after that time, I will come after thee. That's what God is saying, talking about the children of Israel. That's us. We've been enslaved. And now that we're waking up to the knowledge of ourselves, the only way they can keep us docile is with drugs, sex, filth, money, and a desire to be great. Because remember what Pharaoh told the wicked Egyptians, magicians, that if you can trick Moses and make your snake swallow his snake, I will give you nearness to me. So all our little Negro boys and girls now with degrees want to be near Pharaoh. And they're willing to sell out their people to be near Pharaoh. But God is saying, nah, not this time. We done that already. We done sold out our people over and over again. Not this time. Not this time. But so because you're so ignorant and you think that because a person smiles at you, they're your friend, God has to step in now. And see, God ain't a nice guy. He said, God is not mocked. I'm going to get you, but I'm giving you time to get yourself together. And over again, 10 plagues, 10 signs, we still don't get the point. After 430 years in oppression and slave to the Egyptians, God chose Moses to fulfill his promise to deliver the Israelites. But the journey from Egypt to the promised land wasn't without spiritual and physical repression. Moses suffered major oppression right from the earliest days of his life. Anybody that come with a message to tell our people that something is good for you, but it's going to take a fight. See, if you coming out of this Pharaoh spirit, it's going to take the fight of your life. 430 years. What is 4 plus 3? 4, 5, 6, 7. What is 7? That's the God number. You got to stand on the square. You got to be truthful to yourself. A full cycle of understanding in order to get out of this. And most of y'all ain't strong enough. You're crazy now. You're drug out. You're drunk. You're crazy. You got guns. You don't care about nothing, but you're not strong. You're not warriors. You don't practice scientific warfare, asymmetrical warfare. You're just a murderer. That's all. You're outside. That's what that means. I'm outside so much that I know where the trees and the cars to hide under. I know the bushes across the street. That's what you do. You outside. We're inside trying to make life right. You're outside doing what Pharaoh said to do, which is destroy the young. You're going to pay for that, black boys. You're going to pay for that because one day you're going to want to be free of this life and it's going to come back and haunt you. Look at your buddies. Look at your soldiers. They're doing podcasts now, trying to get along. Yeah, I killed 10 niggas when I was out there, man. You know what I'm saying? But we got to change the cycle. Why? Because you're too old to fight back now. That's why. You're still a devil, most of you, but you just got a very charming attitude and you attract people. But you got to pay for that. You don't walk away from murder. The spirit of Pharaoh tried to kill Moses as a baby and stop him from fulfilling his purpose. That's the spirit. Pharaoh's spirit come after you. I was in my home, and I told y'all this story before with my sons, Kwame, Elijah, little Keith, and 3 shadow figures came in that house. And I stood in front of those things to stop them from getting to my sons, but they went right through me as babies, taking them. And when they get older, they got to decide that they want those things out of them. Same thing with every child you got. You can call them an angel all you want. Everybody has to be tried. We're talking about the Pharaoh spirit. They come after the babies. We're in the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation said that Jesus was preaching to the 7 churches. There go that 7 again. But that snake in the beginning, that serpent in the book of Genesis, by the time it got to the book of Revelations, had turned into a dragon because of all the evil and the evil spirits that it had attracted. It got stronger. And for anyone that thought they would escape it, they got the trinkets on you. You really think you're doing something because you got a $1,000 pair of shoes on. You think you're doing something. You think you made it to the promised land with some raggedy behind shoes that probably cost $10 to make. And they put a price on it and give it to you. And you say, okay, who name on it? Valencia, who? Put my name on it. I won't charge you but $500. The king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, whose names were Shipra and Puah, when you are helping the Hebrew women during childbirth on the delivery stool, if you see that the baby is a boy, kill him. But if it's a girl, let her live. That's in Exodus 15 and 16. And that's what our women who want to be single with these boys. They're killing them. That's why the minute these boys get outside, they act a damn fool. I took on the role of a female in my when I had my sons because they didn't have their mother. And I kiss them every night. I said prayer with them. I love them. Man, let me tell you something. Them cherubim devils coming out the gate. Whatever the world was doing, they was doing it. But in my mind, I was doing a great job with them. Now they so deep into the paint, man. Even if they try to change, I truly don't believe they're strong enough to come out of it. It takes some prayer and some power to get out of and reverse the cycle. But 2023, count it up. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We on the 7 again. Everything is going to be revealed this year. You'll see. People going to go to jail. People going to die. People going to OD. It's going to be a mess this year, man. A mess. Some ain't even get here yet. Everybody doing whatever they want to do. There ain't enough cops. So if you're going to handle any problems, you got to handle it yourself. And how you can't talk to nobody because conversation is out. So it's going to be gun violence everywhere. Then you got this group of people who stay in the church, don't watch no news, don't watch nothing, and they think life is just rosy because they don't deal with the world problems. Jesus Christ dealt with the world's problems. You trying to just live your life good and tell everybody how good God is, that don't count. Because you're not talking to the people, you're talking at the people and telling them if you ain't going to do it like I'm doing it, you going to hell. I'm already in hell. Attributes of the spirit of Pharaoh. We 38 minutes in. We got about 20 minutes. Attributes of the spirit of Pharaoh. It distracts us from our true purpose. God said in Joshua 1:5, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Every one of God's children is born with a divine purpose. This purpose trumps our personal plans for ourselves and guarantees a fulfilled life. So we dump the purpose. The parent's role is to see your value, to see your attributes and guide you into your attributes. So they say you should be this, you should be that. Nope, I'm going to be a rapper and a drug dealer. I'm going to go to college and be a pedophile. I'm going to be a preacher and preach the word wrong. But that's not what God said for you to do. That's what you wanted. Moses had a distraction in the curse of fulfilling his purpose when he killed an Egyptian man and consequently had to flee from Pharaoh to a foreign land. Exodus 2:11-15. But eventually God called him back, armed him spiritually, and sent him back to Egypt. In the same vein, God directed and redirected the path of his children to their destinies, if you would only trust him. But remember, Moses didn't make it to the promised land because he got angry and defied God again. That same spirit was still there, but God used him for the time that he needed him. Tyree Nichols was used for the time that God needed him. That's the death cycle, that to see a man beaten like that and wonder where God was. He was beaten like that because people knew better. Now they're coming forward talking about, yeah, them same cops had beat me one time and one time. Now they're coming forward. But they were too cowardly to come forward before. So Tyree Nichols had to take every blow of the cowards who didn't report those cops from the beginning. Are y'all listening to me? In your community, wrong is being done, but you shut your door and act like you don't see it. You act like you don't hear it. And then somebody gets killed. Oh, Lord, ain't that bad? You caused it because you was too cowardly to say, look, something is going on in my community. But you say you love God. You a liar because you can't love God and fear man at the same time. The Pharaoh spirit, it distracts. It takes us away from the reality of what is. The spirit of Pharaoh fights the next generation. I'm going to say that again. The spirit of Pharaoh fights the next generation. Pharaoh had ordered the massacre of Egyptian baby boys because he feared they would grow to become powerful and fight him. Because they feared that you all would become powerful, they took what was once a community protection group and made it a gang. They took what was once rap music to get messages across and made it, what do you call it? Drill music and gangster music. They took belly dancing and sensual dancing to help a man connect to God's spirit through a woman's vagina and made it stripping. They took church, yes, and made it a fashion show. They're skilled in what they're doing. They train in warfare. How else could they go to a country, a continent, and convince the people there to sell their own people for guns and stuff they already had? And then the last trip they took, they say, oh, it's no more people. Then you get on the boat. We taking you. Because we know what kind of guns you got because we gave them to you. But we got bigger guns. To my little Negroes with your ARs and your darn Dracos, they got bigger guns. I know. They got snipers with elephant guns. They got bombs. Ask the MOVE organization what happened to them in Philly. The only place on American soil that they dropped bombs. The spirit of Pharaoh fights the next generation. Pharaoh ordered them to fight him. He feared that they would grow up to become powerful and fight him. In the same vein, the spirit of Pharaoh fights the next generation. God promised to pour out his spirit upon all flesh in the last days, causing supernatural manifestations in the form of dreams and visions. Joel 2:28. Hence, accelerating and groundbreaking success is assured of God's people. But see, Satan knew that God was going to start talking to you. So he gave you that 10% THC, 40% THC in that genetically modified marijuana. He got you hooked on them oxycodone and all them other pills, all that Adderall and all that. You get messages, but they all confused. Nothing that can benefit your people because it's not what God says, it's what you interpreted out of what you saw. You ain't no interpreter of dreams. The Pharaoh spirit. The spirit of Pharaoh hardens our heart. We 44 minutes in. If we love God, we will obey his word and keep his commandments. John 14:15. Pharaoh's heart was hardened against God, and he refused to carry out his will to let the Israelites go. They're not going to let you go, people. They're not going to let you go. You think you're free, but you're not free. If you vote for the wrong person, they'll turn the whole town against you. This is a crazy place. This is a crazy time. But everything is happening in real time. Evil is being made manifest in real time. But remember that every death that has occurred here, somebody knew what was going on and didn't say it. That blood is on your hands. It's on you. Because we got more cowards than we got men and women. Stop the drugs, stop the liquor, stop the partying, stop the gossip, stop all the foolishness and see how tough you are. Stop it for a month. Stop it and find out who you really are. Clean yourself up for a month and find out what your heart and mind really is like. I dare you to do it. I know you can't do it. How many of y'all know that I don't know? God knows. Try it. He refused to carry out his will to let the Israelites go. This disobedience ultimately cost him his life. Disobedience to God is a sin that prevents us from being partakers of his divine blessing. You to God. Disobedience from yourself, turning against your internal self, causes you and I to have a miserable life. You ain't looking for nothing out there in space. The book says the kingdom of heaven is within you, but you're going against your own spirit. And your spirit is the Christ that everyone is looking for. And the Christ will lead you to your soul, which is God, but you don't want it. You rather it be out there somewhere than to be inside of you because you know you done damaged yourself. We're damaged. The Pharaoh spirit. The spirit of Pharaoh will pursue one last time. After finally allowing the Israelites to leave Egypt, Pharaoh changed his mind against them. He took his army and charged after the Israelites one last time and met a watery inn at the bottom of the Red Sea, Exodus 14:23-28. The devil and his cohorts are hell bent on taking out the children of God and will keep attempting to do so. Therefore, you must have a deep relationship with God and be grounded in his word to remain unshakable when they strike. See, I got a son who has the gifts of God in him. But boy, Satan jumped on his behind with that fentanyl. And that's going to be a battle of his life. And he's going to have to be tied down to a bed and fight this thing until it's out of his system and he ain't ready. I was addicted to pills. I know what it's like. But I prayed the whole time and I started breaking them pills off a little piece at a time every week until my body got used to not having them. The pharmacist told me, don't stop those pills. I said, man, I got to stop. This thing controlling me. Attributes of the spirit of Herod. We ain't talk about Herod, so I'm not going to go there. Those are the attributes of the spirit of Pharaoh. Now, I want to read this for you real quick. Of course, many of us know by now that the court of Pharaoh is a place of aggressive contest. The drugs have been made aggressive because the situation is aggressive. So the spirit of Pharaoh is after you young people, just about done destroyed the old folk, because that's where all the incest came in at, all the mixed breed babies and all of the mental retardation. And now we trying to hide that by moving our children out of our home so that nobody can see what's going on. Remember when your young girls used to get pregnant, you send them off to to stay in New York somewhere and they come back with a baby? Because we don't want to answer for nothing. We start talking that God talk and try and start living that lie like we don't have no mistakes. So we start hiding everything. You move over there. You move over there. You move over there. My children don't do no wrong. Everybody harassing my children. See, the parents are retarded. Mentally retarded. Because they never face their demons. Stay up in the church, but never face their own inner demons. Nowhere near Christ. See, when I said that, somebody clicked offline. You don't like to hear that. You don't like to hear that it's our problem. As long as you pointing the finger at somebody else, that's fine. But don't tell me I got no problem. That's why you could never face your Pharaoh or your God, because nobody can tell you nothing. Because you can't apologize. You've got a hard heart. And your main objective now is to look good, but not to feel good. Now, we're almost done. By now, you know the court of Pharaoh is a place of aggressive contest. Listen, the spirit of Pharaoh is very stubborn. It's a very stubborn spirit that likes to see people in bondage to something. The spirit of Pharaoh is a strong man principle, demon controlling a person, family, place, or thing to bondage. This spirit will never allow a slave to be free. Pharaoh's spirit will never allow you to be free, but you will think you are free. But let me ask you, how many banks do we have? How many grocery stores do we have? How many hospitals do we have? How many Uber companies do we have? How many farms do we have? How many rescue services do we have? How many governmental systems have we set up? How many communities that we have set up with rules and regulations that must be followed? We have no structure. The only structure we have is that of which we follow from someone else's structure. And that's why they say we act like little children. Ain't nothing for our children to do. Somebody got to find something for our children to do. Well, you somebody. You party all night. Why you can't find nothing for them to do in the day of value? Put our little monies together and make a difference. And then we will make sincere and lasting friendships with other races once they see that we're doing for ours what they do for theirs. The spirit of Pharaoh is the spirit that destroys children with divine leadership potential. It comes directly at them and take their brains away. It is a spirit that puts one to task of working and living below poverty line, task of marital distress, The spirit of Pharaoh is any spirit that challenges our God by magic, by witchcraft, by sorcery, and by divinations. And that's what it is. All of this stuff you see is just magic. It's witchcraft. It's sorcery. It's things that have no value that we are in awe of. You get a brand new car and take the quality rims off to put shiny rims on because it looks more attractive, because we're little children, put lights all on it and under it. You ain't making no money off of it. You just like you playing in a playpen. The spirit of Pharaoh is a spirit that threatens a man of God that is bent and has a task on setting God's people free. If you ever say that you're on a mission to do God's work, you are enemy to man. Because most of the preachers even know that they are not with God. That's why you got so many churches with the same name, because churches are splitting into pieces and parts because the church members can't get along. The place where the word of God is supposed to be the strongest, we're fighting to prove who is closer to God by the material things that we possess. And that fake behind smile that we become so good at. We're actors and actresses. You want to hear the word, but the Bible says that you want the word to be whatever you want to hear. I'm going to see if I can find it. We're running out of time. We in 53 minutes, so I'm going to do this first. The spirit of Pharaoh denies you benefits and subjects you to rigorous bondage. It is the spirit that refuses to allow God's people to go to their promised land when their servitude is over. The enemy sometimes intrudes into God's chastisement of his children and tries to perpetuate suffering in their lives. I said that. It is any stubborn spirit that chases you around anywhere you go to bring you back into bondage. You say, I thought I was out of this situation. How did I get back here again? To defeat your Pharaoh, you must understand what he does. There is no need to be negotiating with evil spirits. There is no negotiation with a terrorist. The only language they understand is violence through authority. I'm going to say that again. To defeat your Pharaoh, you must understand what he does. There is no need to be negotiating with evil spirits. The only language they understand is violence through authority. The only language the spirit of Pharaoh will understand is the language of signs, wonders, fires, and power, demonstrated in the spirit of God. The glory of God is the greatest instrument of defeating your Pharaoh. Strive. I did a clothing line called Strive. I don't even think the Christian folk understood what I was. I even put the Luke 32 and something underneath it about striving. But I did a clothing line about strive because we are in the fight of our life. Strive to stay in the presence of the Lord until you are filled with his glory, to walk in the realm that can bring defeat to the spirit. That's heavy. 5 things the spirit of Pharaoh does in the church against you, and then we're going. We got 55 minutes. We got 5 minutes. 5 things that the spirit does. It distracts us from our real purpose. The Israelites' purpose was to build the kingdom of God, to build cities, kingdoms, and nations by the promise that was given to Abraham to build Canaan, to build up a place for glory. But instead, they were slaves working under Pharaoh for 430 years. You and I are slaves working under Pharaoh. We have not built anything of value for ourselves. That's why I asked you where these things at. They're not there because we're busy building Pharaoh's world, and he'll give us money and he'll give us nearness to him, and we fall for it. And there is no skill that he teaches that we can take back to do something for ourselves. For 430 years, the Israelites were under bondage, forgetting their real God-given purpose. They got so busy with life, with what they were doing, that they forgot their own calling. I'm going to stop there. Number 2, he confuses our identity. We don't know who we are. The spirit of Pharaoh is a master at distracting us and confusing our identity. Pharaoh coheres the midwives who were supposed to deliver the Israelite babies. Instead of helping the newborns to reach their destiny, he was turning his midwives into killers. He is manipulating their identity. The midwives are supposed to help babies to be safely born. Instead, he manipulated their identity to turn them into killers, confusing them. Our mothers are killing these boy babies, period. I know that you don't want to hear it because you got them dressed up, you got them a bank account, you got them a car, but they're not growing as a man supposed to grow into his destiny. Somebody got to say it. Somebody got to be the person you don't like. Because Jesus was murdered because nobody liked him. But now y'all love him because you can put words in his mouth because he's not here. But when he was here, nobody liked the man. That's how he ended up on the cross. He fights the next generation. If you notice, Pharaoh was not interested in killing girls because girls in those days and in that culture were people that held the house together. They were people who maintained the house. They did the cooking, the cleaning, and so on. The enemy does not have a problem with the generation that is on maintenance mode. He doesn't have a problem with the generation that will maintain status quo, but the enemy does have a problem with the builders. That's what the masonry is all about, the builders, the cornerstone. The enemy has a problem with fighters who will raise up and who will fight the battle. That is why the enemy is after warriors. He is after people that come to God's house, snow or storm. They will still be there, faithful. If it's on, it's on. But y'all sliding and stepping on your own people. Number 4, and we're almost done, 58 minutes in, he hardens our hearts from obedience. The spirit of Pharaoh is a dirty spirit. It keeps manifesting in us from time to time when we just don't feel like obeying. When we know what is right, but we still don't want to do it. When you tell yourself, I'll just do it this one time, then I'll ask the Lord to forgive me. And it's not like I'm backsliding. It's just one time. That's how it starts. One time, then 2 times, then 3 times. How he will pursue you one last time, and we're done. The spirit of Pharaoh will try that one last time. He's going to try to seduce you. He's going to try to get you comfortable. He's going to try to do anything for you to resist God and rebel against God. He's going to try that one last time. Just when you think it's over, he's going to come against you one last time. Listen to me. Just when you think, okay, I'm done, I've overcome this, I've disconnected from my past, he will come to try that one last time to see you fall from the destiny God has called. I declare into your hearts that you shall not fall. In closing, and if you have fallen, I declare you shall rise up. You shall be a light in the name of God. Share this with others. I ask those of you who have listened. And I thank you so much for tuning in to this installment. I hope I had gotten everything in. I was trying to do it within an hour and we did it. So please stay tuned to the 19 Report. We busy. We going where God tell us to go. Thank you all for tuning in. Jamil Salib Zamir, Manning, South Carolina.
Thank you so very much for tuning in to this month installment of the 19 Report. I am your host, Brother Johnny. I walked a thin line between right and wrong, took my fears to God, then I wrote this song. The spirit kept calling, so I answered the phone, and then I manned up and got some backbone. My mind resonates at a much higher tone, solid foundation, empire zone. 3 mountains, I'm in one, right to left counted, 9 and then 1, left to right switch it, 1 and then 9, west to east, south to north, a thin line. I know Christ exists, cause his mercy allows me a chance to stand 3 on a square. Yeah, we in there. This